Hi, in this video, this is part 2 of lesson 7, we're going to take the finding of the median one step further than we did in the previous video. And so what I want to do now is we're going to start the process exactly the same way as we did last time. And that is, before we can do anything to find the median of the data, we need to arrange it in ascending order. So let's do that here. So my first value looks like I have is a 0. So I have a 0, and then I have a 1. Give it some space. I have a 1, and I have a 2. I have another 2. I have a 3. 4, 5. Then what do we have? Looks like we have a 7, 9, 11, and then 2 14s. An 11 and 2 14s. And there we go. Now I have 12 data values here in my set. Let me just count here really quick. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I think I'm pretty comfortable that I've got all my data values. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the exact same process. And the first thing we're going to do is find the median of the data. So let's write that. So the first one we want is the median. So to find the median of the data, remember what we did is we said, all right, you start at the lowest value, you go in one, start at the highest value, come down one, and then you continue this process until you meet in the middle. And so I'm going to keep going here. Low comes up, the high goes down, goes up, goes down, and right there. So notice that our median has to fall between the 4 and the 5. We could probably guess that, or remember we can always find it formally as 4 plus 5. Divide that by 2. 4 plus 5, that's 9. Divide that by 2 to get 4.5. And so I'm going to write that. Actually, I'm going to just move all of this down just a little bit. It'll be easier. You'll see why here. And then cut. Let's just put it back in. Paste. And that's all I wanted to do is just make some space for myself. Okay. And then, so my median we'll write here is 4.5. Now, so far, we've done nothing new. But here's where this gets more interesting. What we're going to do now is we're going to find the median of each half. So I'll just stick with my gray. So now find the median of each half. Okay, here we go. So we'll use another color for our marker. We'll use pink color. So in other words, when I look at my lower half, the data from 0 to 4, 0 is now my lowest, so I go up to 1. 4 is now my highest, so I go down to 3. Then we repeat. From 1 we come up to 2. From 3 we go down to 2. And there it is. You can see their next median has to be between 2 and 2. And so it looks like the median of the lower half is going to be 2. Okay, so we'll just put these lines here to keep track. Let's do this one more time, and now with the upper half of the data. So I'm going to start, my low end is a 5, so I'm going to go up to a 7. My upper one is a 14, so I go down to the next 14. Then I go from the 7 up to the 9, from the 14 down to the 11, and look at what happens. Notice that now my next median is going to be right between 9 and 10. So this value here is going to be 9 and 11, between 9 and 11. So take 9, I add 11, divide it by 2, that's going to be a 20, divided by 2, which is 10. So the median of my upper half is 10. Now, look at what these data values have done. These data values have divided the data into 4 equally sized groups, 4 equally sized groups. And because of that, because they form quarters, when you take half of the half, you make a quarter. And so this bit from 0 to 2, this represents 25% of the data. From 2 to 4, this represents the next 25% of the data. And then from 5 to 9, there's another 25% of the data. And finally, our last three values, 11 to 14, from the last 25% of the data. And so we have a name for these. We say that the first quarter is delineated by the 2. So we say the first 2, let me write it this way. Sorry, excuse me. So we say the first, the lowest 25% is below what we call Q1. And Q1 is the 2, and it's called the first quartile. Okay, our next quartile is Q2. And we've already found that that was 4.5. But notice that we also had a name for Q2 of the median. So you're going to hear median and Q2 used interchangeably. And so Q2 is the second quartile. That's the third quarter. So we call it Q3, that's our 10, and that forms what's called the third quartile. Third quartile. Now, notice this, that if I look in between the first quartile of 2, and I look all the way up to the third quartile of 10, notice that that's 25 plus 25. That represents 50% of the data that falls between those two numbers. And it's such an important group, that middle 50% of the data, that we call the difference, the range in which that 50% falls, is called the interquartile range. And you'll often see it abbreviated as IQR. And the range in which the 50% fall is calculated as Q3 minus Q1. So in this case, it's going to be 10 minus the 2, or 8. So that's how we use the median, not just once, but 3 times, to divide the data in half, then divide each half in half again to divide all of the data now into 4 equally sized groups. In the next video, we're going to look at how we actually display the information that we found in this video. Thanks for watching.